Celeste is one of the greatest indie games that has been released in recent years. Because of this, there's a lot of mystery surrounding some aspects of the game, and today we'll be taking a look at some of them using the iceberg made by Reddit user ThomasLlama4. I'll be joined by my good friend Aldo, who will be explaining the mysteries that I don't really understand.
Hello, this is the great friend Aldo. I'll be explaining the things even TB cannot understand himself. Side note, I am a monkey.
Oh, and by the way, I'll be using the strawberry counter to show how much confidence I have in my explanations. 5 being that I know exactly what I'm talking about, and 0 being that I have basically no idea. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Granny lives on Celeste Mountain. In the beginning of the game, we could see Granny living in a house on Celeste Mountain. Madeline lives in Canada. Yes, she does. Strawberries are used in the pie. The more strawberries you have at the end of the game, the more strawberries are visible, so yeah. Madeline reaches the summit. At the end of the game, with help from Madeline reaches the summit. Abandoned city with working machinery. In 1A, we notice that the surrounding area seems to be an abandoned city, which seems odd considering that the traffic light block seems to be working perfectly fine. The only other mention of this is a short conversation between Madeline and Theo where they theorize why the city was abandoned. Not to mention the fact that the level is literally called Forsaken City, which only adds more to the mystery. Dust bunnies. Dust bunnies are the main obstacle in Celestial Resort. Not really much to say about this one. Madeline claims to drink, therefore she is over 21. During 6A, while talking to Theo, Madeline brings up the fact that she drinks. However, the drinking age in Canada is 18 to 19, so yeah, I don't know. The feathers. Feathers become a mechanic in 6A. I really don't know what else to say about this one. Intro car meme. The intro car seen in the prologue has become somewhat of a running gag in the Celeste community and is even hidden in a secret room in Farewell. Madeline falls endlessly in core. In the core, there is a section where Madeline can fall endlessly, making you wonder what the core really is. B-sides. By getting a cassette, you unlock the B-side of a level, which is basically just the harder version of that level. Cassette rooms. These are the rooms that you can actually get the cassette to unlock the B-sides in. Theo's Instagram. Character Theo has a real Instagram account that they post to, but ever since the release of Farewell, they don't really do that anymore.
Alright, so what do we have here? Okay, so we have this level up 6A cutscene happens each time Madeline uses a double dash refill. Alright. Very, very fucking easy. Here we go. So basically what we're talking about here is that his fucking computer sucks. His computer fucked up and then that cutscene played and whenever he did it, redash. Other than that, I have no fucking idea and this makes me want to have a brain stroke right now. On to the next one, TV.
Oshiro boss fight. The climax of 3A has Oshiro as a boss. Cages in 2A. In the chase scene in 2A, we can see cages lying around, which makes you wonder why there's cages in Madeline's dream. This could be a subtle way of saying that Madeline feels trapped. Celeste is a real place. There is an actual mountain called Mount Celeste on Vancouver Island. Chapter 7 is a dream since the only other chapters with dream blocks in them are dreams. Despite the long title, this is actually a really good theory because the only time that we see dream blocks are in Chapter 2 and Farewell, which both turn out to be dreams, which makes you wonder why they're in Chapter 7. Not to mention that in Chapter 6 we see Madeline fall down an entire mountain, but still get up like it was normal. Maybe Madeline suffered a major injury while falling down and now she can only dream of reaching the summit.
Heavens feel pain. Okay. Basically what this means, right, is that so I can actually deadass explain this one. So in the temple B-side, when you grab Theo, he says this isn't canon. To explain this, it's because B-sides are normally something else besides it's like not part of the main story. Chapter 9 wasn't a dream. Madeline suffocated in space. So what this is trying to imply is that after you're in space, right, you're fucking dead. You're just fucking dead. I'm sorry to tell you. Anyways, next.
C-sides. Once you have beaten the B-sides, you unlock the C-sides, which are just a harder version of the B-sides. Front-facing Madeline. At the ending of 1A, we can see the one and only use of the front-facing Madeline portrait, which just looks off. The bird is sentient. I think this could be referring to the fact that the bird can be seen helping you out in the prologue, but other than that, I really don't know. Touch switch doorbell sounds. Honestly, no idea what to say for this one. There is is doorbell sounds that play when you get all the touch switches, but I don't really know what's mysterious about that. Saving and quitting adds a death. This one was actually quite interesting to think about, so I decided to test it out, and surprisingly, it's actually real. Madeline dreams of being Vored in Chapter 2, therefore she is into Vor. Near the end of Chapter 2, Madeline gets eaten by Madeline, and since it was a dream, we can assume that Madeline wants to be Vored in real life? Collab Proghi Heart. I honestly couldn't find anything online about this, so yeah. Mods with stories. There are multiple custom maps out there that have their own custom stories attached. Mirror Temple backwards audio. During the Mirror Temple, if you reverse the audio that plays, you can hear Madeline whisper to herself. Major Malfunction represents Maima's struggles. So from what I can gather, Major Malfunction was a custom map that was released, and Maima was a streamer that plays Celeste. Other than that, I'm basically clueless. Who is Sib from Sib's Crane? In the backstory for Sib's Crane, we see that Sib actually owned the Forsaken City that was abandoned. After failing with the city, he decided to use the mountain's power for his own gain. He is shrouded in mystery, and anyone who tries to learn more about him ends up no farther than where they began. Glyph ends with Madeline being stuck in a mirror world. At the ending of Glyph, we see Madeline in some sort of glass-like world, and when trying to get the heart, it becomes harder and harder to move until eventually time stops. Madeline's ability to jump off spikes with precision. I'm pretty sure this is talking about the fact that Madeline is able to jump off of spikes without hurting herself, so maybe she has some cleats or something? I really don't know. Ultra Difficult's Tech. Ultra Difficult is a custom map for Celeste that requires some crazy techniques in order to complete. Crypt of the Kevins. Crypt of the Kevins is a custom map for Celeste that is made completely of Kevin blocks. I'm not sure why this is on the iceberg, but I do gotta admit that the map is very creative for doing this. Madeline's gaming keyboard and Granny's gaming chair. At the end of Farewell, we see that Madeline has a gamer keyboard that lights up. We also see in a picture from Theo that Granny was sitting on a gamer chair that we can assume belongs to Madeline as well. What does this mean? Well, it means that Madeline is an epic gamer. 6A Secret Room with Lifeless Husks. In 6A, if you decide to venture off from the path you're supposed to go, you can find an elevator shaft. By climbing it, you'll be able to find a room filled with characters who don't talk and they just stand there. I'm pretty sure this is just a reference to Extremely OK's other game called Towerfall. Solaris Suicide. In the beginning of Solaris, we can see Madeline and Madeline arguing over something that they had apparently done. It is revealed later that this was a suicide attempt that had failed. The level almost ends with Madeline following through on this idea until she realized what she was doing was wrong and decides to wake up. Solaris' Stages of Grief. The 5 stages of grief are a set of 5 emotions that those experiencing grief go through. These are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. The map Solaris displays the 5 stages of grief within the interactions between Madeline and Madeline. In the first interaction, we can see Madeline deny help from Madeline, saying that she doesn't need help from her or anyone. This can also be anger, since Madeline seems very angry at Madeline for some reason. Depression kicks in shortly after this encounter when Madeline talks to Madeline about finishing what they had started. Bargaining occurs when Madeline is about to follow through on her suicide attempt. She starts thinking if it's really worth it and the people that she would disappoint if she went through with it. Acceptance occurs near the end of the level when they realize what they were doing was wrong and decide to wake up. This is how I interpret this point, but feel free to comment what you think. Madeline attempts murder by baking moon rocks and golden chunks into pie. Throughout Madeline's adventure, she collects moon berries made of moon rocks and golden strawberries made of gold and puts them into pies for her friends to eat. Clearly, these things aren't safe to eat, so we can only assume that this is an attempted murder attempt on her friends. Madeline's Crystal Heart Obsession. Madeline has an unnatural obsession with collecting crystal hearts throughout the game, even putting herself in danger in order to acquire them. Grandmaster Lobby is where Madeline goes after death. In the 2020 Spring Community Collab maps, there is a set of maps called the Grandmaster maps. I think this is trying to say that every time Madeline dies, she's sent back there, but yeah, I don't know. Demo dashing. Demo dashing is a technique where you manage to dash in just the right way to be able to go straight through dust bunnies and is incredibly difficult to pull off. Madeline murders hundreds of jellyfishes and pufferfish. During Farewell, Madeline uses hundreds of jellyfishes and pufferfish to reach the end of the level. The pufferfish die from exploding and the jellyfish are abandoned once used.
Battle line used to be a pitch black Madeline. So they kind of took the Link route, what Nintendo did for Link, for Shadow Link, where they could have been a Shadow Madeline, but they instead removed that. And to be honest, I just think that they should have just left it. That would have been so fucking cool.
The pufferfish sound is Granny laughing. If you approach a pufferfish in Farewell, it puffs up and has a very distinct sound. Thanks to power-up audio, we now know that this sound is just Granny's laugh sped up. Madeline is called Ghost in the files. In the game files, every character is listed with their appropriate names except for Madeline, who seems to be named Ghost for whatever reason. Now this could just be a name that was made in development and never changed, or it could be a deep dark secret hidden in plain view. Enchanted Canyon monster. In the beginning of the Enchanted Canyon, we see Madeline talk to Granny, and it turns out Granny was actually a monster in disguise. I think the monster represents Madeline's denial of Granny's death, since when she starts accepting the fact that Granny is gone, we can see the monster get weaker and weaker until it eventually just disappears. Knowing what Snow Madeline is in Frozen Waterfall. I'm not really sure about this one, but it might be related to the fact that there's a lot of differently colored waterfalls in Frozen Waterfall, which all have different properties, so it becomes somewhat hard to differentiate between them. The D-Sides. The D-Sides are a group of custom levels that are some of the hardest in Celeste. Seekers stopping on secret barriers, but secret barriers kill jellies. For some reason, Seekers don't die when hitting barriers while jellyfishes do. I honestly don't know what this could entail, but it sort of reminded me of the barriers that cubes couldn't pass through in Portal 2. Secret character audio. When looking in the game file, you can find a voice clip called secret character audio, and when played, it sounds like this.
But I do want to add that when I was analyzing the game's audio project files in Fmod, I found a dialogue file called secret character, and I'm so upset. I can't believe they did this to me.
Farewell debug room and demo dash room. There is a debug room in Farewell that you can only reach by messing around with the console. There is also a room that's only reachable when using a demo dash.
Yo, what is up, my homies? We're gonna investigate this one on creature_F. So basically what's happening, right? Yo, there's this motherfucker over here, right? He's pink ass, has a gaping hole, and has 4 stubby legs, you know? He was probably scrapped. He was probably gonna be an enemy, but they just scrapped him out. That's my theory about it.
Error 418 and its horrific song. Error 418 is a custom map and it has a pretty spooky song. The B, C, and D sides are Madeline coming back to Celeste to try to challenge herself more, and she begins to start hoping to fail and die. At the end of 7D, with nowhere to go, Madeline succeeds in her death wish. This theory holds a bit of credibility since it doesn't really make much sense why Madeline would keep putting herself in these dangerous situations. I mean, I understand pushing yourself to your limits, but at some point it becomes a bit much. At the end of 7D, after being launched into the air by Madeline ends up in a rather odd position. This is because in order to get the Crystal Heart, you'll need to use all your dashes, meaning that there's no way for you to escape the spikes beneath your feet. However, there is an 8D and a 9D, so I'm not really sure about this theory. The 2020 Spring Collab represents coming over intense struggles and attempting to continue challenging yourself and analyzing your mistakes in a recap right before you move on to the next obstacle life throws at you. The 2020 Spring Collab is made up of 80 plus maps of all varying difficulties. With every map you see yourself getting better and better and eventually learning what not to do from your mistakes. And once you're finally done with one map, you move on to the next and do the exact same thing. And this is honestly a great way to end the iceberg. So yeah, that was the Celeste Iceberg. This video took me a while to make, so it would really help me out if you would subscribe or even just leave a like.
Thank you, TB, for making me involved with this. It was fun. It was very fun. We had some laughter, we kissed, we made out. We lived a good life. And yeah.
So yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of your... Why are you popping? So yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and goodbye.
Fuck the world for 72 hours. Goddamn, I'm feeling big. Damn.